Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Mystics MMOs. I'm your host, Mystic Raven. All right, so I want to kind of go over a little bit of history before I get into this. Years ago, I had to figure out a lot of different variables when it came to applying damage, and also how different modifiers affected scaling system, because back then we weren't given any of this information. I figured out the 10 to 1 conversion ratio. That's spell to magicka and weapon to stamina. So for every 10 points of stamina is equivalent to 1 point of weapon damage, and vice versa. And for every 1 point of spell damage is equivalent, or for every 10 points of for every 1 point of spell damage is equivalent to 10 points of max magicka. Okay, so that allowed me to use the scaling factors to my advantage, especially when it came to percentage modifiers, such as inner light, Fighters Guild passive, so on and so forth. Now, I was aware, because 4 years ago, I'm the one that introduced people to determining how much penetration you need, and in the video, I go over the tooltip as the indicator. Now, I'm not going to play it all, but this was 4 years ago. Nobody beat me to the punch. Nobody. I was the first to do it. I had the tag 4 years ago. Now, a lot of people back then, I'm just going to show you guys this, did not like the fact that I brought this up. It's a trend. It's a pattern. But now everybody uses that formula. 18,600 being your cap, and your minimal needed for debuffs is equivalent to 5,680 or something like that. It's like whatever. Magicka gets a passive. But I just wanted to show this because people are like, you didn't. I've proven, once again, I have proven the most out of all the content creators in this game when it comes to these numbers. I do. I have the timestamps. They do not. I do. Okay. So that's why they watch me. If anybody wants to know why are these trolls on you, this is why. This video alone, this video alone got me over 12,000 views back then. Back then, I already hit over 12,000 views with this one video. So a lot of people don't seem to understand that. So, but we'll keep getting into it. Okay. But today I want to talk about force damage. Now, I kept a little ace up my sleeve all of this time, being aware that the damage that you apply, right, scales from the fixed amount. Meaning, the more I raise the tooltip, I don't need more penetration. I actually, in retrospective, need less. But typically, I'll never accomplish said tooltip. Okay? Because it's a fixed amount. Mag can't do this because they've already inherently acquired their penetrating value. Okay. So when you go into the light armor passive, you your penetration's already acquired per piece. It's a fixed. So if you wear 6, and that's why I calculated 6-1 over 6-1 in most case scenarios. I said there are some exceptions. And if you can keep a 100% war uptime on Warhorn, you can justify a 7 light. But that's a 100% uptime. I do stress this. Okay, I do. But majority of the time, I've already calculated a 6-1 over a 6-1. Just why? Because the heavy armor passives really do bump up your health, your recovery, all sorts of beneficial applications. But yet you're still able to get your enough penetrating value, which is over the 5-6, even sometimes based on classes, exceedingly more, especially on the Nightblade. But you also get your critical modifier, which is applied per piece. These are flat rate values. Okay, the only time we see the diminishing effect is when the percentage modifier is applied to the fixed rate. And then that adjusts the DR system. Okay. I try to keep it as simplistic as possible. Okay, I try to. I really do. I try. I don't want to just go stupid. Okay. But then, okay, yeah, and then that. But and on this factor, our weapon damage scale is detrimental to what? The penetrating value. Currently, what ZOS is doing is nerfing the pen value, right, into the CP system with the update to the Blackwood. So the only amount of penetrating value that we're going to acquire passively is 700 due to the fact that in the medium armor traits, we acquire weapon damage, not penetrating value from the agility passive. Now, it's kind of important to understand too, though, that in our Fighters Guild, we get the 9%, or we get a scaling factor to weapon damage depending on how many abilities we have slotted. Now, people have always made fun of me for slotting Camouflage Hunter, but now they do it. Why? Because of scaling. I've always said scale factor is always detrimental. I only typically do it on the primary bar due to the fact that once I go ahead and apply the dot end up to the rotation, I'll get the scale factor on the back bar or on the primary bar. So I don't typically have to justify utilizing it on both ends. But, I mean, can it help? Yes, absolutely. I'm not debating that. The question of it is, do I need it? No, I mean, my main thing is keeping it, my main scalable, spammable, scaled as high as possible. That's what I push for. Okay, so I'm always running 3 up. Now, that's another thing that we could talk about to the sets, because a lot of people utilize the Medusa set. Why? To get an extra bar space to use the inner light, which is pretty good. I'm not even going to lie about it. But here's the deal. We have another set for the stamina users, and I'll explain why it doesn't get utilized. Into the Overland set. I think I grabbed it. We'll see. If not, I'll go get it. It's fine. We'll get it. Okay. Okay, so we're going to go to Overland Sets, and I'll show you guys something. And why it doesn't get utilized, why it's not so popular. And you would think it would be, but it's not. And there's a reason why. Okay, and I'll explain that. Oh, medium, no. Where? I just took it out. Okay, yeah, right here. Alright, right here. Okay, so this set mimics, in a way, not all the time because it doesn't have the second 5, is the minor force. Okay, is the Griffin's Ferocity. You get a critical, you get a weapon damage. You'd think, oh my god, this is great. After dealing direct damage, doesn't matter what kind, just direct, you gain minor force and minor expedition for 10 seconds. Increasing your critical damage by 10. You would think, oh my god, that's great. That's exactly like Medusa. It is. For stamina. Why isn't stamina using that? Well, the reason being because of the scale factor. Okay, because the barb trap is what gives us the minor force. But if we deslot that, right, we're going to lose 3% towards all of our damaging effects. So the set doesn't become as popular because of the fact of the scale. So if we deslot it, we actually lose damage. Pretty simplistic. Now, 3 traits that determine penetrate, or 3 variables that determine penetration is sharpen, maces, and the lever. Okay? Any other value besides the CP passive, any other contributing factor has to be set associated. Unfortunately, ZOS doesn't have a lot of sets that offer penetrating values for stamina players, which becomes problematic. But a lot of people would say, well, you're forced to then take the lever. You do need some penetrating values. Okay, so one of the major factors that we're going to do here is, I think I got them all. If not, we'll get it. We'll get them all. Oh, right there. Okay. So right here we have them all. Right here we have precise, whatever. I'm going to switch this out, though, to sharpen trait. I want to show you guys something. Okay, we talk about indifferent values, right? Or getting close to those indifferent values, okay? Because wherever you find diminishing returns, there's the indifferent values. And where indifferent values are, that's how we utilize it for marginal substitution. Okay, that's mathematical law. We do not change that. That is like a thing. I don't make that up, whatever. Okay, so we're going to sharpen this. Okay. It's already gold. So we get a value of 3,276. Okay. Now, there is some slight discrepancy, but typically, when we take a look, currently, that puts our pen value at 6,413. Now, that's way too much, because what's our value? 5,600 is what we need to be at. So this allows us to examine our values. Now, given the fact that we're typically low on the critical value, what do we want to offset? We want the thief, because why? We want to get up to between 55 to 60 in minimal, application. Okay. So now we're at 52 weapon critical, right? Did I have the lever? No, I didn't. Okay. For some reason, I'm overpinned. Why am I overpinned? Doing this live, it sucks. Why am I overpinned? That doesn't make sense. For a minute, it's 3,200 with the other modifier, major savagery. Okay, I'll have to take a look at that. Let me take a look at this. Okay, 1,600. Oh, wait a minute. I think I know why. It's because of the set. Domestic. Take a look at the set you're wearing. Penetration. It's fine. Okay. And I didn't have it. So we're at 6,400. So once again, I didn't have it. Whatever. So the biggest thing about it is getting the critical value, not being overpinned. Had we had the lover, I thought I had the lover. So I had the warrior. If I had the lover, I'd be way overpinned. It'd be nuts. This would be a bad scenario all the way around. Okay, that would be bad in its entirety. We take the thief, we get the critical value up there. Okay, that's kind of an important factor. Okay, now the biggest thing about it is we have 6-4 with the sword. Now we'll switch out to the maul. Okay, with the Nernholm. Sword gives us weapon damage, right? The maul gives us penetration. Nernholm gives us weapon damage, and sharpen gives us penetration. 6,004. How did I do it? In different values. Okay, in different value. That's mathematical law. Wherever there are diminishing returns, there are indifferent values. You do not change that. That is mathematical law. Okay? You don't get to change it. It's not like the devs or whatever. The devs set the variables to the fact of what's going to occur to control diminishing rate. If they did not adjust these values accordingly, the diminishing rate would go exponentially against these other variables. So these are control mechanisms that the devs are aware of to do what? To offset the difference for the scaling system. Okay. So there we have it. Didn't make it up, did I? Did I magically make it appear? What are indifferent values don't exist. Diminishing returns don't exist. So if those two things don't exist, obviously we don't have what did we just utilize? Marginal substitution. Okay. Okay. So we're going over this. But here's the deal. I don't even need this much penetration. I actually don't. Because what ends up happening, yes, penetration is good, but I'm still exceeding pen. Did I eat food? Okay. Just making sure. And I'm just going to give you my jabs as an example. 10-4. 10-4, 6-7. I can afford to drop the penetration value. Right? So, the sword, right? Given our fact that our weapon damage is currently at 6-8. Now, anytime anything over 6-8. Let me proc this up. Now we're at 7-1. We have a higher scale factor due to the not just the set's application, because the set has a fixed variables, right? That are going to be applied upon activation or within the 4 and 2 slot. That's a fix. But we get scale higher, and I showed that last week, due to the percentage modifier of the Slayer. So it never is equivalent to what the set says, because that 9% scales accordingly. So what we end up doing, we lower our factor. Okay? All right. Okay. So what do we want to do? Well, we want to increase the nerd hole. Now, I could go with precise. I'm going to get into this, but I'm just utilizing this for, example. Okay. So what we end up having is 6-4, right? We'll slot the great sword. That'll drop our pen value down to 3-1, but it's going to raise our weapon damage over the 8 once procced. And now guess what? We're dealing more damage with less pen. But how? Because we push past the 6-5, thus requiring the least amount of penetrating value. Because the fixed variable is what? Percentage adjusted. Based on the damage applied. And we can even go higher. So basically, given the fact I can still use Velodraft, but I don't need this much penetration. I could even, if I wanted to, go precise on my weapon, right? And take the other monster set. So ideally, what I'm saying here, a lot of people don't understand how to utilize stamina effectively in association. Okay. So we can go precise to raise our value, right? But we still need to utilize a scalable factor to reduce the amount of penetration needed. Okay? So now when we associate this effect, we have a 65 weapon critical with less than. We still have a nice weapon damage that will scale, but we can even do what? Raise our values higher if we want to sacrifice proc monster set. We can still use a monster set. I'm not saying we can't. What I'm saying, we would substitute to scale all of our effects across the board. And now we're dealing 11-5. We're over 7. Okay. So basically what I'm trying to demonstrate is how to get around the usual required pen value. Why is that more detrimental for the stam? Well, it is because of the fact of weapon damage to penetration conversion. Okay, that's about it. And then given the fact that the light armor, the mag users are going to what? They have no scalable factor to the spell damage. Okay, they have recovery, but they have no other scalable factor. They have a fixed variable that's not scalable. Stamina has a fixed variable that is scalable. Okay. I hope this helps. Saying, what's up? Harold, I believe the average vet dungeon has 10k and vet. Yeah. Okay, I usually hit between 3 to 5k pen when I can. Right. Yeah, pen, and that's the thing. In the past I've gone over penetration. I've been doing that for a while, as well as other modifiers, but I kept this one up my sleeve. I know it's not right. I do apologize to the people who are like, you held out on us. Well, yes and no. I mean, I wanted to set a good, like, how should I say, fundamentals, and not have people exploit an unnecessary system. So I never lied about the penetrating value and the adjustment to the tooltip. I've never lied about that. Okay, the fact of it is, the closer you are to the pen value, you achieve tooltip. Okay, your tooltip is the indicator for your max base damage. So I never lied about that. So, but I just wanted people to get good fundamental. I didn't know it was going to get toxic to the point where people were excluding stamina from trial based on penetrating value. I didn't know it would get there. So in my defense, I didn't know that, people wouldn't understand, or I would have had hoped they would have done the math to determine this without my intervention. So unfortunately, they didn't, and now I'm forced to reveal it, because the fact of it is the scale factor is now more precedent as more people panic about stamina penetrating value. So 18.2. I knew it was somewhere around there. Yeah, it's 18 point something. So, and that's very important. It is important. It is. So penetrating value is an important factor. It just is. I don't want to discourage people from like dropping thing. I had to figure out though the low end value of how far we could drop the value. Because the simple fact of it is, like the Necromancer, passive to the penetration, utilized on a Bosner, and with the CP passive, makes it very much where we can take the marginal substitution and almost deplete the penetrating value altogether. It's not practical in every application due to other variables, but at the same time, I'm just pointing out the fact that based on race class, and what you're trying to accomplish, the pen values adjust accordingly. That's all I'm pointing out. So the thing about this is, at the end of the day, do I need that minimal that's typically associated for stam? No, I do not. But if I don't have it, I need to scale higher. Because if I don't scale higher, and if I push everything into a critical modifier, so let's hypothetically say that I go ahead and I take the axes, okay? If I were to take the axes at a precise, right, you would think to yourself, well, that's good because it affects the crit. It is a critical modifier, but it doesn't adjust what? Our weapon damage or our penetration. Okay? So, let me see. Perfect. Okay. So if I was to utilize this axe, I have the Thief Mundus, right? What's my penetration? Very shit. No, it's the same. I keep forgetting I have the set on. That's not going to do me any good. It will a little bit. But I'm still at 3. And my weapon damage is under still. But the proc's still going to carry. Fuck. Oh, wait. I know what I'll do. Okay. I'm like, what the fuck, Mystic? What are you getting? Alright. So we do have a boost. I think this might still carry me over. Fuck. I'm trying to get it under. I would have to use a different set, but let's see what it does. Okay, we deal less. Okay, now we have modifiers. Now a little less, not much, but we're still over 6. We're close to the 6.5, so it's still dealing pretty good. But it would go higher. It would actually go higher if this was Nirnholm. Why? Because we're going to scale the factor, use the modifier, the critical modifiers to the Templar and the axes. So what we would do, we would come in, we would, my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, Mystic. You're just having a day. You're having a flipping day, dude. For real. Okay. All right. Okay. I think we could do this. Yay. Okay. Now we're going to get a little bit higher. Why? Because we're scaling. And now we're getting a little bit more. Okay. But here's the problem with this association. We drop below the 60 critical value. But we get that 68, thus hitting over the 65. Every time you hit over 65, you need less. But here's the problem. You're going to have the minimal into your penetration by what? Trait, Mundus, or Trait, Mundus. I just said the other one off the top of my head. Or weapon selection. That's it. Now, important factor, right? If we're only using a minimal of physical penetration, it is more detrimental to scale weapon damage higher. Because if you do not, your DPS suffers further due to the lack of penetration. Okay. There we have it. Homie, look at the first comment. Let me see it. Have you looked into Heartland Conqueror set? It's crafted. Oh, no. I haven't looked at it. No, I haven't looked at it. I haven't checked it. Oh, wait. That's the new one. I think... Isn't that the new one? I think I did that yesterday. But I didn't pay, like, close attention. I just wanted to do a video basically explaining the force damage and how it applies and the misconception of achieving penetrating the minimum penetrating value. That's the only thing I wanted to go over. And you know, I do stress other factors as well. Like I said, I'm the one who figured out the penetration values long before and how to associate that to the tooltip. I try to keep things simplistic, but even back then everybody hated me. Because they were like, you don't know nothing. And of course, that was during the reign of the misconception of the Twiceborn and whatever. And I had a lot of headaches back then. And I still have a lot of headaches. I still do. But but this has always been an ace up my sleeve. Now, do I play Stam the best? No, like I said, I made healer. I play mag tunes. I built Stam tunes based on these fundamentals, principles, and mathematical, like the character sheet outline, making sure my variables were taken into consideration during application process. Okay, that's about it. I've used 2H before 90-something% of the ESO community. I have those videos as well. But, anywho, at the end of the day, I'm stressing the fact that if you're going to scale it, you have to make it apparent, right? Taking the fact that also if we're going to utilize monster sets like Velodreth here, right? We have to hit that 6/5. This is dealing 12 at its current value of 58, right? But I can scale that higher. I could. So if I reduce this modifier to address this modifier, thus increasing the critical value, but not exceeding, right, into that, we'll have a scalable factor that now, when we come in, we can achieve a much higher tooltip. And consequently, well, that one's a little low. Achieve 6/7. Okay. So we definitely want to get higher. This is another reason why I'm more comfortable abandoning proc altogether. You know, I'm very much more comfortable abandoning the proc modifiers this update more now than ever. I'm much more comfortable doing it. Much more. The proc has a cooldown. Damaging abilities do not. Thus, I can make up the value within the amounted cooltime. So I have no problem taking proc sets for PvE and trashing them. To do what? Amplified statical boost to all effects. No one excludes Stam from trials because of pen. It's supportive range. You get timed out. That's not what I've heard. You sure about that? Alec, I think you're wrong. Congratulations. Welcome to timeout for not accurately describing what some people have said. You'll get blocked next time. Don't troll. You better look up some people. That's what I would recommend. My brain always feels like hamburger with all of these sets to remember. Yeah, there's a ton. There's a ton. But how does force damage work? That's how. We can diminish, we can reduce the amount of penetrating value you need to scale factor. Have I known all about this the entire time? Yes. I just didn't feel it at the time it was going to be such problematic issue that needed to be addressed. Okay, but there you have it. Okay. So am I going to be utilizing any proc sets? Well, I mean, Kina's proc, Dom's proc. They are technically procs, but I'm utilizing them to scale damaging effects. That's it. So this update, like I said, everything's about the stat boosts more than the proc. Given the fact that we also have a restriction on the proc's scaling factor. So I would much rather take all abilities and scale them without worry of GCD. That's me. That doesn't have to be you. Let everybody decide for themselves. That's my motto. But I did want to cover this. So there you guys have it. Said and done. I hope I've appeased some individuals. But as always, I'm Mr. Craven. This is Mystics MMOs. You guys have a good day.